Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Van Diazzo back with the Cart by Vanguard deck profile. So I hope you guys enjoyed the come subscribe and so sorry. This time we are covering the actual last deck of DZ1. So I lied yesterday when I said Maryland was the deck profile. That was the last one for DZ set 1. By the way, I'm recording this the day that video actually goes up. And the reason why I lied is because I actually chose that this was going to be a deck profile yesterday, Friday, February 23rd, because I had a bit and I wanted to do it. So with the release of DZ Set 1 and one very specific card from DZ Set 2 that made me think about this deck, which eventually led to this, Armeti. For those of you that don't know what Armeti does, let's go ahead and spoil the main grade 3 real quickly. She's this. Now, if you look at it closely, you don't see a Vanguard symbol on her. And that's correct. Because in Set 1 for DZ, Bushi gave us 2 new budget decks that had nothing to do with the anime to my knowledge, and one of them is actually TG restricted, and that is Android and that is Askraya. I truly believe that if I keep doing this, Bushi will eventually listen, because they listen with the budget decks. They listen with those two. So please, Bushi, if you see this or hear this, give us a Devi Sister main grade 3. I do not care what her skill is. I don't care if it's simply on plays Vanguard Circle CB1 draw card. I don't care if it's bad. Give us one and I will stop doing this, please, because I really want to see it happen. So going to the deck profile, shall we see what we got, because honestly, it's an interesting deck to say the least, and I mean, we've already kind of proven that point with the main grade 3 low. So for today, we have, of course, our energy generator. So, you know, the mainline have one of your ride deck is ride deck, crest, auto ride deck. When you would ride, put this card into your crest zone. If you want second energy charge 3, continues to after 10 energies at the beginning of your ride phase. Energy charge 3 and act once per turn. Energy blast 7 to draw a card. All around pretty solid. There are only 2 C-Beers in this deck. One of them, of course, being that cycle grade 2. So, you know, you're going to want to, so possibly you could end up drawing more cards with the energy generator, being able to blast out 7 at a time, which is all around pretty solid. You could also just use that 10 energy skill, which is also really helpful. So, all around pretty solid setup for the energy generator. Then we have our starters, starting Magic Star Lee, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto road point for a second draw card, standard starter, no spots to free draw if you win second. You can really run any starter. Star Lily is not required for any of the ride line, especially the main grade 3 who doesn't have a Vanguard skill, but she is nice to have in the ride deck because she kind of fits the theme of the other ride deck cards. So yeah, Star Lily is our starter. Then we have our Overtrigger and True Arbitrator Dragon of 100 Swords Duravassal, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, Overtrigger in your deck, when reversed as a trigger with a card, draw a card, choose one mutes, it gets for the turn, and your vivid during your check, activate its additional effect, which you get to until end of turn, perform drive checks for the battle as your rear guard attack. That does not matter a lot in this deck, simply because the only reason that would come to make a difference is if you had Lepisto on board and then you double restood her and then you just stacked all your triggers onto her. But this would have to involve this being in your drive check for the Vanguard, and you'd have to send this coming. But either way, and also have 4 open CB. But all around, Duravassal is a pretty nice over to have. If you want to run Volnut for more multi-attack to try to make this deck more consistent, you very much can. But I like to run the Nation Respective over, so I'm probably just going to run Duravassal anyways. Then, of course, we have our normal triggers. We run 2 copies of both the front trigger and the draw trigger, Bard of Heavenly Song, Alpac, and Protection Match your Proby respectively. Both of the 2 copies both have grade 0 boost and 4k power. Bard has 15k shield, Proby only has 5, and they both share a skill, contains guards, so components Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, they get plus 5,000 shield, and they are front and draw trigger respectively. So Proby can help increase the hand and acts as 10k shield, and then Alpac can help increase the power of the front row, which again, when you don't really have a main grade 3, you or at least on Vanguard Circle, you kind of have to rely on the rear guards being able to handle themselves, so giving the rear guards more numbers is very helpful, and also being able to draw said rear guards is very helpful. And then, of course, we run 7 crits because F it, let's just give pressure to everything. So 3 of White Fang Witch Disma, grade 0 boost, 15k show, 5k power. If by some miracle of God you pull off the double Duravassal, double Lepisto play, you're going to want as many crits as physically possible for a restanding beat stick. But 3 Disma can be any crit you want, just choose Disma because why not? And 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, by the boost to put it to soul, choose one mutes, it gets 2k for the turn. All around pretty solid, it helps increase the soul, and it is kind of important when our main grade 2 costs 2 soul on its own for whatever reason, and then we want to have a free ride deck, which means our grade 2 in the ride deck, that automatically tells you what the grade 2 of the ride deck is. We want to be able to get free ride deck, so we're going to need more soul for that. So 4 of Blade Feather Dragon all around helps out really with the soul problem that this deck can run into, and again, 7 crits for pressure. Then we run our 4 heals and Circling Sorceress, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, just a free heal. You can really run any heal you want, but I choose to run this one instead of the effect heals because I don't really like the effect heals too much. I feel like they're too situational with the fluctuating 10 and 25k shield. I'd much rather have a consistent 15k shield, but run whatever heals you want. Then move on to our grade 1s. First, we're on 2 copies of Divine Sister Tartan, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto when placed on the rear guard circle while soul bossing one and resting this unit. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck, you can choose it to 1 card from among them, put it to the top, and put the other on the bottom. All around pretty solid. It's able to stack the top card, which can help stack triggers, again, so we can abuse with Lepisto. Hell, maybe even get up over off that skill, or it can help stack for more important stuff such as PGs and other cards, which all around is pretty helpful. So Tartan's a nice tool. If you want to run I forgot what the other grade one is called, but she's a 6k base and is almost the exact same thing, except she A, requires you to be at grade 3, and B, she's a CB1 instead, and she also stacks the top 3. But again, when our whole plan is to heavily rely on the pistol spam 24/7, yeah, we're gonna want to end in that soul problem a little bit, because either we get more CB problems or we get more soul problems. But considering the CB problems end in more multi-attack, I'd rather have multi-attack than this. Then we move on to our other grade ones. 4 of Diffuser Angel, the thing that mitigates this. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto when placed on rear guard circle by putting a hand card into your soul. Choose one of your vanguards, and that unit and this unit will both get plus 5,000 power for the turn. All around pretty solid. It helps increase the vanguard's power, it helps increase the rear guard's power, and it also helps increase the soul. All around Diffuser Angel, very solid grade 1, getting us soul cards and mitigating our soul problem, and also getting more power. Easy 4 of. Then, of course, we have 4 copies of Divine Sister Spome, so grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 7k base, auto rear guard when she boosts Divine Sister Castella. By drawing a card, you put a hand card to bottom of your deck, and then she'll get plus 2,000 power for that turn. I don't know why she's like this. I really, just based off of her skill alone, I really want the Divine Sister grade 3 to stand a column. I don't care if that's all it does, but like, it needs to do something that benefits Spumoni, simply because her being a 9k booster that doesn't restand just sucks, especially because Castell only has 10k power, so it just becomes, oh no, sorry, she has 9k power, which makes her just an 18k. So, you know, we need a little bit of something to carry on here, but either way, Spumoni is fine. She does end up cycling cards. The only downside is her effect is mandatory, so like, say for example, you have nothing in your hand, and you are forced to draw, and then you are forced to send that card to bottom. The only benefit is she'll get to 2k out of it, and she could technically deck them, but if you know that card to trigger, it's kind of an FU. Either way, though, Spumoni is a solid grade 1, and she does benefit from Castella, so she also benefits from Armate too. Then move on to our PG. 4 copies of Paladinium Zeo Dragon. Grade 1 boost, 0k base continues. Has no limit to 4 summons in deck. Playing guard circle. Choose 1 units that cannot be hit in battle. And if your hand has 2 more cards in it, choose a card from your hand. Guard standard PG. Nothing too special about it. Basically, it means if this is only one of the cards in your hand, place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard one, which is great because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. And then when your opponent counterattacks you, you can throw this card down, and then they can't hit you, and then you are safe. And this is very important because this deck fluctuates really quickly between if it wants to go on offense and if it wants to go on defense. Because if you want to save up for, you know, either banking it on the over or just beating the shit out of your opponent with Lepisto spam, you pretty much wait until grade 3 before you start rushing them. But if you really think you cannot kill them before they get to grade 3 because, I don't know, they're playing a meta deck and you're playing the most joke-based deck in the world, yeah, you're probably gonna hard rush them with Diffuser Angel, Tartan, and Spumoni on steroids. So having the PG active is pretty solid to have. You can really run any of the PGs. You can run Aegismire, you can run Bringer of Defense, I think it's called Calsun, or you can run Paladin Zeo Dragon like I do. Either way, they'll all share the same effects. I just prefer Paladin Zeo Dragon because it came out closer to the time of Armate's release, so 4 of. Then we have our last grade 1 in the deck. 1 of in the right deck, none in the main deck of Incision Angel, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto wrote upon, draw a card to carve from his card, standard PG, or not standard PG, just literally the most simplest ride deck skill in the world. You draw and you ditch. Like, sometimes it can be helpful because it does increase your hand and it kind of thins out the non-important stuff. At the same time, most of the time when I play Incision, you draw a card you want to keep and your entire hand is stuff you want to keep, or you draw stuff you don't want to keep and your entire hand is stuff you don't want to keep. Either way, Incision Angel pretty much hates me, but I mean, well, we have a good amount of generic ride line stuff, but I just prefer this one because the other ones feel like they actually belong to something, while Graham Grace's actual ride line more hints to what the grade 2 is, but it feels like that's actually a generic ride line comparatively to everything else, even though, yes, technically Alden's ride line is generic to everything else, so 1 of Incision in the ride deck. And move on to our grade 2s. 4 copies of Drilling Angel, another way to fix the soul problem that this thing solo handles on its own. Grade 2 inside 5k shield, 10k base, auto when placed on rear guard circle by putting a unit card from your drop zone into your soul. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck to 1 card from among them with the same card name as the card put for the soul for the cost. Card to rear guard circle and shuffle your deck. I don't remember what deck I ran the sim where it worked successfully, but there was one deck, it was recent too, so it was somewhere in the DZ set 1 timeline, where I ran this. It worked perfectly. It always saw what it needed to. Whatever I sent to soul, it would always superior call. It didn't make sense to me because every time leading up to this, Drilling Angel never effing worked. every time I would say something to Soul, the card after the top 3 would be the card I sent to Soul, and it never made sense to me, and still now Drilling Angel does this to me. But hey, you know what? He gets a Soul so he can fix Castella. He could possibly call Castella, even if it doesn't proc off her effect. He could call himself and loop the effects. He could just do so much if his effect actually goes off, and it is really helpful, especially if you're playing against nuke decks and you're constantly sending your stuff back. So 4 of Drilling Angel, you know, he's hit or miss sometimes. Some of my decks more hit than miss, and some of my decks more miss than hit, but you know what? I'm going to bank it on those hit odds, so 4 of Drilling Angel. Then we have 4 copies of Divine Sister Biscotti. Create 5k shield, 10k base. Auto when to put on your guard circle from your hand or discard from your ride deck or riding from the ride deck. Card boss or energy boss so you draw cards. So, you know, you either pay one of your many CBs that you're probably going to abuse solely on the fact of Lepisto to draw, or you're going to play all of your energies to draw a card. Again, taking away from the what's it called, the energy generator. Also, if you think you're going to run into a CB problem and you realize that your soul is kind of fine, like I keep all the soul charges and focused on the CB grade 1 on the Soul Blast grade 1 solely for the fact of I saw this coming. But if you also feel like you're going to run into a CB problem, you could run the grade 1 that came out with a pistol that can countercharge one, but that might actually include your CB problem just a little bit too much. And then Biscotti's other skills: auto range placed on rear guard circle. If you persona this turn, card boss or energy boss 3, look top 3 cards of your deck to 1 card from among them, put it to the top of the deck and place it to the bottom of your deck in any order. If it's not placed during the battle phase, you may call instead of putting it to top, which is all pretty solid because you don't have to call if you don't want to, meaning you can still stack the top card of your deck, or if you need rear guards, you can call that card to rear guard. All around, Biscotti is a very solid grade 1, and at this point, if you guys are wondering why this isn't a Divine Sister focused deck when there are enough Divine Sisters to make a Divine Sister focused deck, because this isn't meant to be a Divine Sister focused deck, it's meant to be a Almighty focused deck. And when Bushy eventually gives us the main grade 3 with Divine Sister in his card name that has a Vanguard skill, then I will make a Divine Sister focused deck. So Bushy, please let this dream come true. Either though, Biscotti's a very good grade 2. She definitely helps us keep alive during the mid game, especially because this effect can be used defensively, and it also helps stack triggers, so 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Divine Sister Castella, grade 2 and 5k shield, 9k base. All she's put on rear guard circle from the hand. Soul Blast 2, top 7 card deck, which is 1 Divine Sister spend money from Munlam call to rear guard circle, so comments her and shuffle your deck. The only downside to her is you have to call it to the same column, and it's a Soul Blast 2, meaning if you whiff, you just lost a good chunk of your soul in that one go. But the fact is that because it has to be in the same column, that means you can't like call her after you place something in her column to guarantee that she'll be a good booster, or you can't move Spumoni to somewhere else so it would be a good booster. You have to call it specifically behind Castella. I mean, once Castella dies, Spumoni is basically a vanilla. But Castella all around does help out. If you do see Spumoni from her skill, she does get you more rear guards on board, and we do have enough soul to warrant using her skill a handful of times. So Castella is a solid grade 2. Again, the only other downside is that she has to be placed from hand, so she doesn't proc from Drilling Angel, and this is why you mulligan like hell for her, because she's pretty much the most important grade 2 in your deck by a long shot. 4 of Castella. Then we move on to our last card last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the red deck, none in the main deck, of Divine Sister. I'm gonna butcher the hell out of his name. Get to Gachu Basque. I know it's French for some type of food, I just don't know what. Anyways, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base. Contains Vanguard Circle. When you drive from your ride deck, you may ride by Soul Blasting once you come from discarded. So you could choose to do the ditch, or you could choose to do Soul Blast. This deck, it will definitely flip-flop between the two. Like, if you're spamming Spumoni 24/7, or not Spumoni, Castella 24/7, you're probably not going to use the Soul Blast skill. But if you're going to use the, so you're probably going to do the discard, but if you're going to use a Soul Blast skill, you probably don't have enough Castellas to warrant not doing it. So all around pretty solid card, can alternate the ride deck cost and could definitely help aid you in battle. So one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck. Then move on to our grade 3s. We have 4 copies of Divine Sister Lepisto, grade 2, 10%, 30k base. Auto rear guard circle when your tribe check reveals a trigger unit by counterblasting 2. You get to stand this unit and it'll get plus 5,000 power for that turn. All around pretty solid because it definitely adds more power to the offensive triggers you pull, especially if you sack the over and then you sack all of your crits and then you put all of Z crits onto Lepisto. But also being able to get 5k is pretty solid because that means she'll be an 18k. So even if your opponent sees a trigger, she still has a good chance of hitting if she has a booster behind her. And she's not a hard once per turn, meaning if you found a way to have rear guard with drive checks anyways, and she swings again, you can just restand her more and more. All around, Lepisto is a very solid grade 3 to have. I do like her in this deck, but she does end up being the reason why this deck can and will have a CV problem most likely. So 4 of Lepisto, but keep that in mind. Then we have our last grade 3 unit in the deck, and of course our main grade 3, and the whole reason why this is 6. I still don't remember why the hell I thought that this was a joke that I could make with her being a main grade 3. I do not remember the day that this... I remember the day it was revealed in Discord, but I do not remember my thought process if I just accidentally misread it having a Vanguard skill instead of having a rear guard skill, or if I understood it had a rear guard skill and chose to do this anyways. I don't remember what the reasoning was behind it, but either way, Divine Sister Armeti, grade 3 10% 13k base, continues rear guard circle during your turn. All your Divine Sister Castellas and Divine Sister Ramone on your rear guard circles get plus 5,000 power. This skill does almost nothing on Vanguard because obviously it's a rear guard restricted skill, which is why you ride her once, you maybe keep one in hand for Persona Ride turns, you call the other 2 to rear guard, and you steroid buff the ever-living shit out of Castella and Spumone. Or even if you don't call 2, you call 1 so that you have the double columns of Castella and Spumone, so you know you have 2 14ks boosted by 2 also 14ks, right? Because, oh yeah, there'll also be 2 14ks. So those will be 2 28k columns. Or, you know, if Castella dies, you just spawn down 2 of these and then those Pomonas become stronger. So, all around, Aramante is a very good card for rear guard setup, and you can say having this as your main grade 3 makes people think, oh my god, they must be playing a super powerful deck where they willingly choose not to have a real Vanguard on the grade 3 turn. No, that's not what's happening. It's not some next level 4D chess mind game fuckery play. It is simply put, if you play this, you are either insane like me, you are either crazy like me, or you're doing a bit like me, or you're just me in general. So, 3 of in the main deck of Armati, 1 of in the ride deck. She does have rear guard pressure, but in the ride deck, she does nothing but be a statement piece, and that's pretty much it. And then, of course, we have our 1 of Gratias Gallade, the reason why you can kind of afford to drop 2 Armatis on rear guard almost immediately. Grade 3, normal order, Regales piece. You may have 1 Regales piece in your deck. You can only use a total 1 time per fight. Play it if you have a grade 3 Vanguard of Persona Ride, you do not ride this turn. Activate Persona Ride, draw a card. Your front mark gets plus 10, and it's required to have Persona Ride this turn. All around, pretty solid. Again, Armati's skill, even though it's continuous, it does stack if you have multiple on rear guard circle. So typically you will call 1 or 2 to rear guards, especially if your Castellas die. So while you are constantly throwing your Persona Rides onto rear guard, you can use Gale to get more numbers and pretty much use that Persona Ride turn to kill. I cannot stress this enough. Your Persona Ride turn, hopefully the turn right after you ride to grade 3, is pretty much your end turn. If you don't kill them by then, you're probably not winning the game off the simple factors of this deck does not have nearly enough pressure to outlast, especially if they're playing a board nuke deck. If you somehow come back from that, I will be forever damned. Or you're probably just stacking triggers left, right, and center. Either way, though, this card definitely helps bring the deck together and is a nice addition in with, you know, rear guard rush over here. And without further ado, that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. This deck is stupid. It is 100%. I'm not going to argue that at all, but it is very fun to play, and it's nice to screw around with. And the day Bushy gives us an actual main grade 3 with Devices in his card name, I will cry and I will abuse that power to a whole new extent. Hell, maybe it'll be the day I randomly walk into a tournament just because I can and I will, and just flex a point. So either way though, I'm going to end this one here. Hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on this one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.